Even when the Congress has the political energy to go up against the government at a time when things are looking bad in the country, it is crisis time for the grand old party. And as usual, it is lurching from one tamasha to the next. In the latest big setback for the Congress party ahead of the crucial Uttar Pradesh elections next year, young party leader and former MP Jitin Prasada has dumped the party and the Gandhis and joined the BJP. Jitin Prasada, a member of Rahul Gandhi's core team, someone who's been known to be close to both Rahul and Priyanka, Jitin Prasada said he couldn't serve people while the Congress and also referred to the BJP as the only party that isn't personality driven. Here's what happened today. Dramatic day for the Congress and the BJP.
Yet another loyalist dumping the Gandhi family. Jitin Prasad, once a close confidant of Rahul and Priyanka in Congress's Mission UP. The Brahmin stalwart dealt a massive blow to Congress in poll-bound UP after meeting with Amit Shah and Piyush Goyal. With these veiled jibes at the Gandhi family after embracing the saffron party.
एक मजबूत नेतृत्व प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी जो निस्वार्थ देश की सेवा में लगे हैं, उनसे प्रेरणा लेते हुए और तमाम ऐसे बिंदु हैं जब हम राजनीति में आते हैं तो हमारे ये लक्ष्य रहता है कि एक माध्यम बने, एक ऐसा माध्यम ढूंढें जिनसे हम जनता के हितों की रक्षा कर सकें.
Prasad is among a steady stream of important Congress leaders making a beeline out of the party, including Jyotiraditya Scindia, Priyanka Chaturvedi, Khushbu and Himanta Biswa Sarma. Congress is also witnessing festering factional fights in Punjab as well as Rajasthan, with Navjot Singh Sidhu targeting Chief Minister Amrinder Singh and Sachin Pilot pitted against Chief Minister Gehlot.
मुझे बड़ी खुशी है, मेरे छोटे भाई हैं, मुझे बड़ी खुशी है, उनका स्वागत है भारतीय जनता पार्टी में.
Will more leaders follow Prasad out of the Congress fold? All eyes are now on Rajasthan heavyweight Sachin Pilot, who has a running feud with the old guard and the Chief Minister of the state. Prasad had threatened to quit the Congress even before 2019 polls. It had taken none other than Rahul Gandhi's personal intervention to stop him then. Prasad, however, has not been able to win the last two elections in 2014 and 2019, which saw a plunge in Congress's fortunes. Will his presence now boost BJP's Uttar Pradesh fortunes in 2022 polls? With Paulami Saha in Delhi, Bureau Report, India Today.
Now, this is not the first time that Jitin Prasada has threatened to leave the Congress, but this is the first time where he has kept his word and actually exited the Congress. I want to give you this exclusive excerpt from consulting editor Rajdeep Sardesai's best-selling book from 2019 on the BJP's big victory in that election. Here is Rajdeep Sardesai in his own words describing what had happened at that time. In 2019, Jitin had threatened to withdraw from the election fray, claiming he had not been consulted on candidate selection in his neighbouring constituencies. There were reports that he even might switch over to the BJP. It required last-minute personal appeal by Rahul Gandhi while they drove together to the airport to stave off another high-profile exit. Rajdeep Sardesai, who wrote this book, is with me live. Rajdeep, you know, this is interesting because, you know, the details are always so evocative. In your book, nobody knew about this. We all covered this. We all remember how, you know, that high-profile exit was averted. But amazingly, in your book, you've brought out how Rahul Gandhi apparently drove with him, Rajdeep, to the airport to convince him otherwise. That alone tells you where Jitin Prasada actually stood with the Gandhis, and that amplifies the importance of what has happened today.
That's right, Shiv. I think in 2019, Jitin Prasad was threatening to exit the Congress at a critical stage. It was a stage where the Congress was desperate in a way to take on the Narendra Modi government. Uttar Pradesh was seen as the key battle, and suddenly you hear that Jitin Prasad is leaving. It would have been yet another blow to the Congress at the time. Now, 2 years later, I think things have changed, because what's happened in 2021, Shiv, is that Priyanka Gandhi Vadra is now firmly ensconced as the General Secretary in charge of Uttar Pradesh. The likes of Jitin Prasad feel in some way edged out, marginalized, not just in Uttar Pradesh politics, but in general in this new Congress. The Congress is not seen to be the big tent that can accommodate a variety of interests. His career has hit a roadblock. He's lost 2 consecutive elections in Uttar Pradesh. He was in charge of Bengal. The party was not even able to open its account. So he was, pushed literally into a situation where the Congress being out of power had nothing to offer. In 2019, there was at least the hope, even if it was a slim hope, that maybe the Congress can come to power in those general elections. Now, for Jitin Prasad, the only option, in a way, if he looks at politics as a career, is to join the BJP and maybe contest the 2022 Vidhan Sabha election in Uttar Pradesh and resurrect his career. So, from his point of view, this is pure careerism. From the point of view of the BJP, it gives them a Gen Next leader close to Rahul Gandhi, and thereby gives them, in that sense, another opportunity to claim that the Congress is withering away. It's a sinking ship. And the Brahmin caste matrix that Jitin Prasad has been pushing himself within the Congress could work to the BJP's advantage in Uttar Pradesh. So both for Jitin Prasad and for BJP, it's win-win. And again, a question mark over the Congress's ability, as I said, as a big tent to retain a variety of leaders.
Very, very interesting. Rajdeep, stay with me. Rahul Shrivastava, National Affairs editor, is also going to be with us for some perspective on this developing story. Before I go to the, back to the both of them, the question about whether, and Rajdeep touched upon this for a moment, about whether Jitin Prasada's exit from the Congress and entry into the BJP makes him an asset or a liability. Remember, in 2014, he lost the Lok Sabha elections from Dhaurara. He lost his deposit. That's how badly he lost. He was a union minister at the time. In 2017, he lost the assembly polls from Tihar, Shahjahanpur, lost in his home district by 5,700 votes. In 2019, he lost the Lok Sabha election from Dhaurara once again, lost his deposit once again. So since 2014, he's had a very poor losing track record as far as election winning is concerned. Rajdeep, before I go back to Rahul to ask a more deep question, Rajdeep, we know that politics is a ruthless business, but from what you've written in that one little paragraph in your book, shows that there was a personal relationship between the Gandhis, at least Rahul and Priyanka and Jitin Prasada. I know things are ruthless, but was there no attempt made by the Gandhis this time to try and keep him back? What happened?
I think that's an excellent question, because you're absolutely right that the likes of Jitin Prasada, the likes of Jyotiraditya Scindia had personal relations with the Gandhis and Rahul Gandhi in particular. And the problem with the Congress is simply that. Sometimes the personal becomes the political. In fact, a number of congressmen have complained that the so-called entitled Dennis had the opportunity to directly connect with the Gandhis at all times, which they lacked. Some of them claimed that they had actually done much better in electoral terms, but they had no access to the Gandhi families. While the likes of Jitin Prasada, perhaps another DOSCO like Rahul Gandhi, so there was a school bond also, again with Jyotiraditya Scindia. The personal relationship existed, but I think, Shiv, what has happened over the last couple of years, as I said, that the likes of Jitin Prasada, with no opportunities within the Congress to grow, and they see politics as a career, were looking around to see, would the BJP accommodate them? Could they find life outside the Congress? And the Gandhis, particularly Rahul Gandhi, apparently, according to one of his supporters, is very clear. This is a clean-up operation. He says, if you want to stay in the Congress, you have to be ideologically aligned to what we are talking about. Only if you're ideologically aligned do you have a future in the Congress. So I think the Congress has become much more doctrinaire under Rahul Gandhi, while those who like Jitin Prasada, who perhaps are looking at politics purely in terms of how do I become more upwardly mobile, have found in the BJP an opportunity. So Jyotiraditya Scindia the other day and Rahul Gandhi and Jitin Prasada today, close to Rahul Gandhi, DOSCOites both, entitled dynasts in a way both, but both have found now fresh pastures in the BJP, Shiv.
Very interesting, and there are other rumblings that are also taking place. We've got some, graphics which we're going to put on your screen right now that detail for you, whether this induction is aimed at the Brahmin vote in Uttar Pradesh next year. While we play those graphics out on screen, I'd like to bring Rahul Shrivastava, our national affairs editor, who's tracked both the BJP and the Congress very, very intimately. Rahul, the usual brave face messages are coming out from the Congress at this time. But what is, how are they seeing it from the inside? You've got another big election next year, not to speak of, what kind of impact the Jitin Prasada exit and entry to the BJP will have on the fortunes of either party in Uttar Pradesh. But how is the Congress feeling about this? Give us the inside story.
Shiv, I think the Congress's bad political days in office continue.
Yeah.
Now, let's create a list how. Today, Jitin Prasada has quit the Congress, ex-minister in UPA, third generation Congress leader. He may be a dynasty, his father, his grandfather. In fact, his great-grandmother was related to Rabindranath Tagore's family also.
Yeah.
Now, the fact is that he may not create a storm in UP's cup, but the fact is the kind of messaging which has gone. Now, before that, Jyotiraditya Scindia left the Congress party. The Congress said, what's the big deal? Last month, you had BJP, Congress wiped out in Bengal, no seats won. Who won? The seat, the state was won by Mamata Banerjee, who was at one time a Congress leader. When she had left, they had said, what's the big deal?
Yes.
In neighboring Assam, when Hemanta Biswa Sarma, who became chief minister, had left, they had said, what's the big deal? When was the last time, Shiv, you recalled, that Congress was without a proper chief minister, a full-term chief president for 2 years? It was on the 3rd of July, if I'm not wrong, in 2019, that Rahul Gandhi had demitted the office. Since then, the Congress does not have a full-time president. Now, this is where lies the crisis. Rahul Gandhi, on the 3rd of July 2019, raised the banner against the old guard. And after that, he pushed the young leadership forward. Before that, Ashok Tamar had left in Haryana.
Yes.
Milind Deora is sidelined in Maharashtra. He does not see where he is going in Congress. Jitin Prasada has left. Sachin Pilot has been on the warpath, is still facing trouble at the hands of Ashok Gehlot.
Yes.
You will not believe, not one point agreed in the committee between Gehlot and Sachin Pilot camp.
Indeed.
Last year, in nearly 8 months over, has been fulfilled. Sachin Pilot camp is on the warpath again. So if the Congress says no big deal, then the Congress can see which way it's going ahead.
The words that Rajdeep used in that paragraph, to quote again, appear to be ringing true even now. The Congress is just caught lurching from one crisis to another, and that appears to be unable to shake off that trend even now. Rajdeep and Rahul, appreciate you joining me. Thank you very much for being with me. And as Rahul just mentioned, the number of desertions could possibly continue. It started with Jyotiraditya Scindia, very high profile, close to the Gandhis, especially Rahul Gandhi. Then you had Priyanka Chaturvedi, who's gone to the Shiv Sena, even though the two parties are in an alliance in Maharashtra now. Hemanta Biswa Sarma, the big one, who left the Congress in a very high-profile manner. He's now the Chief Minister of Assam. Urmila Matondkar, star actor, joined the Congress, quit, now is with the Shiv Sena. Tom Vadakan, the visible face of the Congress party, erudite spokesperson, quit, joined the BJP, does work as far as Kerala is concerned. Star actor Khushbu Sundar first quit the DMK, joined the Congress, now joined the Congress and joined the BJP before the Tamil Nadu election. Then you had a series of other, very, very high-profile ones. What about people like Alpesh Thakur in Gujarat, Ashok Tamar in Haryana, Kirit Pradvot Deb Burman in Tripura? All these big, visible, rising stars of the Congress party abandoned the sinking ship and crossed over either to the other side or simply just abandoned the sinking ship. Like Rahul Shrivastava, our national affairs editor, was telling us,